With the recent release of Wish and my video that is only 15 minutes shorter than Wish the movie itself, talking about how all the films made by Disney Animation are connected, although I mentioned Wish in that video, I hadn't seen the film yet, and now I have. So welcome to Big Flick Energy, and it's time to actually give an in-depth explanation of how Disney's Wish fits into the Disney Animated Universe theory. So, this film comes towards the end of the 100th anniversary of Disney, which has been a pretty underwhelming 100th anniversary with all of their flops this year. But there are at least two pieces of content that show the history of this world, with Once Upon a Studio, which provides us an incredible piece of animation showing all of the characters from Disney's animation's history interacting, and the other project being Wish, which is filled with Easter eggs and setups for the future of the Disney Animated Universe. The first way in which this film connects to the Disney Animated Universe is through magic, something we've obviously seen multiple times throughout the history of this world, but is explored in multiple different ways through this movie, through a sorcerer like Merlin from The Sword and the Stone, a book of evil magic like the voodoo magic seen in Princess and the Frog, and the star himself and the magic provided by the heavens like what's seen with the spirit world in films like Brother Bear, and what's seen in Pinocchio with Wishing Upon a Star, which the star from this movie happens to be that same star as described before the release of Wish, meaning the star from Wish gave Pinocchio life. However, in this film, that star did much more, as it made animals that could talk, that it never took away their voices in the end of the movie, meaning now we have super intelligent animals in our world, which will eventually lead to the situation mentioned in my original video, where animals and humans break off into their own worlds, with the animal world comprised of the events of Robin Hood, Chicken Little, and Zootopia, which is a wish Valentino the goat actually makes in this movie, saying, "I dream of a utopian metropolis where all mammals are equal and wear clothes." Something we eventually see in this animal world, and probably now came to be because of the events of Wish. Now, Valentino didn't directly say he wished for it, he said he dreamt of it. So in a lot of ways, that's what his goal in life is now, same as what all the characters from the Kingdom of Rosas in this movie's goals are now. It's not a wish that they're trying to just give to somebody else, it's their goal. So that is his goal, to build up that society of animals. So I believe Valentino is the animal that began what eventually will come to pass in Robin Hood. Now, another character who had a wish at the end of the film, in a very random sequence, was Peter Pan, who wanted a flying machine, or to make a flying machine. Not to be able to fly, but a flying machine. So keep in mind, this film is supposed to take place in the late Middle Ages in the Iberian Peninsula, which is about 600 years before the first flying machine was built. So this scene doesn't make much sense, unless if you start to think about how Peter Pan ended up on Neverland. I believe he built this flying machine and it eventually crash-landed on Neverland. After the events of Wish, Peter, being one of the residents of Rosas, witnessed the power of wishing upon a star and placed a wish to the same star Asha wished upon. The star answered the call and made Neverland what we know it to be today. A land filled with magic, fairies, giant crocodiles, and an inability to age, and pixie dust, which I believe pixie dust are just remnants left behind by the star as seen in the film Wish. It would make sense of why it would be able to make people fly and keep people young. So looking at the pixie dust through this lens, it not only gives us an explanation of the origin of pixie dust, but also helps connect to Tinkerbell's story and to Tangled's story, since we established in the first video the golden flower Rapunzel had been using to grant Gothel eternal life was derived from pollinating done by pixies. But now we also know these flowers first came to be through the star itself, and that's where pixie dust first came from. Now, where we leave our two main characters of Magnifico and Asha are with Magnifico trapped in a mirror, and Asha being given the role of fairy godmother. But both of these endings for these characters may actually just be their beginnings in one of the films that started it all with Snow White and another with Cinderella. To start with Magnifico, there is some irony in him being trapped in a mirror, or in a reflective item, considering how many times we see his reflection throughout the film in mirrors, and him even coining the phrase magic mirror on the wall, an obvious callback to the evil queen in Snow White using the same phrase. Now eventually when Magnifico is trapped in the mirror, he is put in a prison cell and is left for his story to continue on from there. I've seen many people theorize he becomes the evil queen's magic mirror on the wall. Only problem with this is the size of the mirror he's currently trapped in doesn't match the size of the magic mirror in Snow White at all. So unless if he was transferred to another mirror, this theory isn't possible. If he could have been, and we get confirmation from the directors that this was their goal with this scene, I'll buy it and include it into the lore of this Disney animated universe, but for now, I'm not fully sold on him actually being the magic mirror. We just need a little more knowledge on that. The other main character with an interesting ending was Asha becoming the fairy godmother, as she was given a wand by the star and her friends told her that she could be their fairy godmother. So we have two films that very heavily delve into fairy godmothers, with Sleeping Beauty giving us 3 fairy godmothers and Cinderella, which is the one to focus on for the sake of this video, giving us 1 fairy godmother. So for starters, I'm not fully certain on how aging works when you're a fairy godmother, because maybe pixie dust rubs off on you and gives you a longer lifespan, or maybe you become like Merlin from the Sword and Stone and just have a longer lifespan overall when using magic. But what I do know is Asha is now a fairy godmother with a wand, and Asha's clothes, especially when she's wearing her hood, also strongly resemble the robe of Cinderella's fairy godmother. I do believe either Asha is the fairy godmother from Cinderella and helped somebody have their wish come true, or if that's not how time aging works for fairy godmothers, it's entirely possible the legacy of fairy godmothers became part of her family lineage from Wish on out. I think either version works to fit this world, but all that matters is how magic impacts this film and this world as a whole. I recently did a rundown of the complete Disney animated universe theory and how all the films and shows fit in that world. So I won't go too much in depth with the placement of this film in that world since I mentioned it in the initial video, but as you can see here, it takes place after we've already been introduced to powerful magic with Sorcerer's Apprentice in Fantasia and Merlin in Sword and Stone. It also takes place right after the Black Cauldron and right before we first meet fairy godmothers for the first time in Sleeping Beauty. So in my How Trolls Band Together video fits into the DreamWorks theory video, I talked very much on how that film changes the entire franchise's location of where those films take place, but also that there are no direct Easter eggs to anything specific from other films to connect them. But this film is the complete opposite, pretty much giving us endless Easter eggs to go off of to help round out this world. So with that, thank you for watching this video. We haven't gotten an announcement for another Disney animated film outside of Frozen 3, so hopefully when we can, I can start planning on how that next film fits into this world. So please comment down below if you agree with how Wish fits into this world, if you're buying into these theories of Valentino being the first mover of Zootopia, Peter Pan's wish being what got him to Neverland, the star being what created pixie dust on our world, Magnifico becoming the evil queen's magic mirror on the wall, and of Asha becoming Cinderella's fairy godmother, or if you have other theories and what they are. Please like and subscribe. Thanks again, and see you next time on Big Flick Energy.